And he put it together, which is very unusual. The normal way is you don't worry about it at all. You know, the illustrations are nothing to do with you. Your job is big enough to get the words right. And then the editor's job is to choose who will illustrate it. In this particular case, which is very unusual, Stephen brought the book to auction as a partnership, which was absolutely correct. She is the absolute perfect illustrator for these books. I could not have been any more blessed than to have Marla. She's fabulous. But we don't work together. That said, I love when I meet her. I met her here last year, and we just did something in New York. We're coming back in September. We'll be passing through on the book tour in September. And I love being with Marla. I love talking with her. We never, ever work together because I respect her so much, and she respects me a lot, that we would hate to influence each other. I just love her work, and I would never say anything to her. I would never try and guide her in any way. It's not my job. Her job is to tell the same story without any influence from me. Mm-hmm.
After you've finished writing your story, but before you send it in to your editor, at that moment, do you ever give it to children and let them read through it and see what they think? Do you use kids as kind of another form of editing before you, or is it just all strictly adults?
No, I don't do that. That's a really interesting question. I'm not sure I've ever thought about why I don't, except I could tell you a few things. I belong to a couple of writing groups. One is one is the one I told you about, the SCBWI Children's Critique Group, and one is my real core writing group, though. These are people who are writing novels, for mainstream novels. And I'm thinking, at the time I'm getting critiques, I am thinking about the craft. I am saying, did I do this? Here's what I ask of myself. And I go and I say this to kids too. If kids are interested in writing, here's what it is. I say to them, you know what? Writing a sentence is not that hard, I'm sorry to say. It's not that big a deal. It's hard. It's not that hard. Here's what's hard in the really important way. I ask every single sentence of mine to be as beautiful as it can be, as clear as it can be, as interesting as it can be, and as emotionally powerful as it can be. Every single sentence. So those are the things that I'm taking to my critique groups. I'm saying, polish the sentence. If I have not worked hard enough at every single sentence, send me back, because I'm just terrified at the thought that this book is going to go to print. Someone's going to read it. It had better be really good. So that's why I'm going there. What I think is really interesting, by the way, when I have kids read books, I get letters back all the time, of course, and they tell me how they feel, and they give me my story back a lot. And when they do that, I really notice that this thing I told you, that I like to try and speak for children, and I realize how that works is this. They'll come back to me and they'll say, oh, I love how Clementine is all about this. And I'll say, well, that's really interesting, because she isn't, but but how interesting that you will read when she stands up and does this. You will say, yes, me too, and see yourself in her. And they often will tell me, that no, Clementine is all about this, and Clementine feels this way. And I know that they're just saying, this is my voice. There it is in print. And just massaging it a little bit until it fits perfectly. No, I don't give it out ahead. But I'm really eager to hear what they say. And I do process. I'll, get some pretty interesting comments from kids. For instance, after the first one and the second one, kids in schools were asking me all the time, why are Clementine and Margaret friends? And I really thought about that a lot. They want to know. First of all, here's the reason for me, is I'm the boss of the story world, and as the boss, I need a shadow character. I need the Clementine shadow. That's Margaret in classic, archetypes. This is her shadow. This is what she doesn't do well. This is what she's afraid of. And of course, whenever I want Clementine to look like Clementine, I throw Margaret into the scene. Whenever I want Clementine to look like a disaster of disorganization, I bring Margaret in with her tidy room. That's what you do that way. So I'm using her. Of course I'm using her, and there's always conflict when you do that. But at the same time, I thought, well, you're 2 kids. You're the only ones who live in that building. You don't get to, wander up and down the streets of Boston. This is your friend. This is going to have to be your friend. But because the kids kept saying that, in the 3rd book, I let you know that why Clementine and Margaret are a little close. I let you know why Margaret is always kind of digging at Clementine. It's because she's jealous, because her dad doesn't spend enough time with her. He lives in California. And in the 4th book, which is just coming out, Margaret saves the day. Margaret is a hero. She is the true friend of the week, is actually Margaret, because she does something so selfless, but in character. You know how Margaret is? Well, she wants everything to be right. And because of that, she does something really quite wonderful. And then in the 5th book, we learn even more. But that's because of kids' input. I do listen to their input, but not before. That's the answer to that.